Hello, welcome to Wikipedia World Video. Today we will talk about Crusades and the Western European kingdoms of the 12th to 15th century. Crusades were considered a holy war against the Muslims. The story about the so-called Holy War and fighting against non-believers, as they were called, was only an excuse for plundering and conquering other nations' territories. Both Muslim leaders and Western Christians, led by Roman popes, wanted to dominate the world, so the cause of the wars between them could not have been religion alone. Crusades were initiated by popes after all. It was the Pope Urban II who called for wars against Muslims in the Council of Clermont in 1096, claiming that it was every Christian's duty to allegedly liberate the tomb of Jesus Christ, which was now held by Muslims. Kings, knights, and all the people from Western Europe were promised by popes that all of their sins would be forgiven if they fought in the Crusades. The Arabs were described as cruel conquerors who killed Christians and to whom nothing was holy. The war propaganda was present on both sides. Although the wars against Muslims already started in the 8th century in Spain, known as Reconquista, the year 1096 was marked as the date of the First Crusade war against Muslims in the East, that is, against Arabs, who were called Saracens by Europeans. There were 9 major Crusade wars, if Spanish Reconquista is not taken into account, as well as the wars against Muslims in Europe during the 14th and the 15th century, which were actually fought against Turks, not the Arabs. These 9 Crusades lasted from the end of the 11th century, that is from 1096, until the 13th century. Although the papal armies from Western Europe had success in the beginning, the Muslims ultimately defeated the Crusaders and destroyed all their colonies in the east, in the lands of the modern-day Israel, Jordan, and Syria. You do not have to remember all the dates, but for now you could remember that modern historians take the year 1096 as the starting date of the Crusades against Arabs, who ruled over the modern-day Israel, and the 13th century along with the period of the Mongol invasion of Europe as date of the end of Crusades, in which Arabs were victorious. This is a list of all Crusades during the period of these 2 centuries, from the 11th to the 13th century. Before we say anything more about Crusades, we will have a look at the map of medieval Europe before the Crusades. This is the map of the 10th century. The First Crusade began in 1096 and ended in 1099. The Eastern Roman emperors were asking the Pope for help because of the Arabian threat. This was one of those moments when it seemed as if Eastern Roman Empire and Western Roman Empire of German and Norman kings were acting together against their common enemies. But it only seemed so. This is the map of Europe and the Middle East in the 11th century, after the First Crusade. The leaders of the First Crusade were mostly Viking or Norman kings and military leaders. Normans were the main force of Crusader armies. They took away many lands from Muslims, including the city of Jerusalem, which was their goal from the start. During the conquest, Crusaders killed many innocent people and committed massacre over the Muslims and Jews. The real nature of Crusade wars and other wars initiated by popes and Western European kings was revealed during these massacres over Muslims, Jews, and everyone else who did not want to accept their authority and religion. The massacres of this kind were committed even in Europe before the Crusades and during those times, as well as after the Crusades. Moreover, they were committed throughout the whole world in later centuries, in the same manner and for the same reasons. During the First Crusade, many new kingdoms were founded on the territory of the modern-day Israel, that is, the territory of Arabs in those times, among which was the Kingdom of Jerusalem. However, Arabian caliphs retrieved many of their lands and cities after the war. Every Arabian attempt of reconquering the Holy Land of Israel was followed by another crusade war. One of the most famous was the Third Crusade. Some of the most renowned European kings and Arabian rulers participated in that war. Among the Crusader leaders were the French King Philip V Augustus, the English King Richard the Lionheart, and the German Emperor, or the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II Barbarossa. The German King Barbarossa accidentally died before reaching the Holy Land, while King Richard and Philip had unresolved issues, since England and France were waging many wars between each other during that period. We will say more about it a bit later. The leader of Arabian forces was the famous Saladin. He had the title Sultan, being a Sultan of Egypt and Syria. He was very successful in defeating crusaders on numerous occasions, but was never acting as crusaders regarding the slaughter of innocent people, Christians in this case. Despite the massacres committed in Jerusalem the last time, Saladin released all Christians after he reconquered Jerusalem. Equally important and well-remembered crusade was the Fourth Crusade, which lasted only 2 years, from 1202 to 1204. This crusade was different from others, since the Crusaders did not invade Israel again, but attacked the Eastern Roman Empire and conquered it by taking their capital city, Constantinople, in 1204. It was the first fall of Constantinople since its founding in the 4th century by Roman Emperor Constantine I, after whom it was named. And it was also the first fall of the Eastern Roman Empire, although a part of the empire in Asia Minor was saved. It was called the Empire of Nicaea, after its capital city, Nicaea, lasting from 1204 until 1261, when the Eastern Roman Empire was restored. Many historians believe that Venetians of the Venetian Republic, that possessed the Balkan Adriatic coast, convinced and bribed the Crusaders to conquer Constantinople, while Crusaders themselves at first wanted to fight against Arabs in the east. Only when they were bribed and attracted by the city's richness and glamour did they allegedly begin plundering the city and spontaneously conquering the whole empire. Though Venetians did play a part in this invasion of Crusaders, the truth is that all Western European rulers wanted themselves and already planned to destroy the Eastern Roman Empire, as we have said before. They were only waiting for the right moment. After conquering Constantinople, Crusaders founded several kingdoms of their own on the territory of the former Eastern Roman Empire. One of them was called Latin Empire, that is, Roman Empire, since Latin and Roman are synonymous terms. However, in 1261, the Greek general Michael and the future Eastern Roman Emperor Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured Constantinople and eventually restored the Eastern Roman Empire, though not in its full glory as before. Most of the Latin kingdoms were conquered and Crusaders driven away from all territories of the modern-day Greece. Only for a moment it seemed as if the Roman papacy dream came true. and its loyal kings were ready to eventually restore the Western Roman Empire, or the ancient Roman Empire, and establish world empire governed by popes as prime religious and political authorities. The authority of papacy, beginning from the 6th century and the period of Charlemagne until today, as well as their goal of restoring the former Roman Empire and reaching world domination, is best illustrated by an example from medieval history of the Holy Roman Empire of Germany. Namely, in the 11th century, the German king and Holy Roman Emperor Henry IV tried to rule all by himself, condemning the papacy and rejecting its authority. This event, and certain other similar events of those times, are known as Investiture Controversy. However, the Pope Gregory VII excommunicated Emperor Henry IV and deprived him of his political power and other kings, nobles, and priesthood support. Rebellion against the emperor emerged all over Germany, and he was ultimately forced to ask the Pope for forgiveness. Emperor Henry had to come to Pope's residence in person and beg him for mercy. He stood barefoot in snow for a long time before the Pope forgave him his mutiny. That was a demonstration of Pope's power and their authority as real governors and rulers behind the Holy Roman Empire and all the medieval Roman Catholic Western European kingdoms. Actually, they were a sort of unofficial confederation of independent states replacing the former Western Roman Empire. Popes and their European kings of the Middle Ages wanted to restore the Roman Empire, that is, to conquer the whole world. We could say that the Roman Empire actually never ceased to exist. Again, this is necessary to emphasize and to know, because it proves that throughout the whole history of humankind there were world empires and attempts of reaching world domination. The history of humankind is simply the history of world conquests. All we need to find out is the cause of all of those conquests in the past. Why were people and nations always trying to conquer the whole world? And is there a world empire today, in the 21st century? What do you think about it? The final and official break of Christianity occurred in the 11th century, just before the Investiture Controversy. Christianity split up in 1054 into the Western or Roman Catholic and Eastern or Orthodox Christianity. Beside minor religious disputes and theological differences, there were two main differences between them. The first one was that Roman popes were trying to forcefully impose their religion and authority over all other nations, even applying the cruelest methods against those who opposed, while that was not the case with Orthodox Christianity. Roman Catholic Church even formed a special court for eradicating everyone who opposed their church, called heretics. That infamous institution, known as Inquisition, became the synonym for cruelty and all negative phenomena of the Middle Ages. It is why many people are prone to call it Dark Ages. Inquisition was founded in the 12th century and was not present in territories under the jurisdiction of Orthodox Christianity. The second main difference was that Orthodox Christianity was closer to Christianity root religion, Judaism, more than Roman Catholicism, though even Orthodox Christianity was gradually turning away from Judaism too during the later centuries. Jews were persecuted by the Roman Church during the Middle Ages and afterwards over the whole Europe and through the Middle East during the Crusades. But why the Jews? We will give the answer to this question in our next lesson. Thank you for watching Edupedia World Video.